finding a job can be tough, especially if you're entering the job market. And as Jonathan showed us just there, not everyone knows how to market themselves. That's where our next guest comes in. She's Emmelie De La Cruz, and she's on a mission to make millennials shine as the branding muse. Thanks so much for joining us, Emmelie.
Thank you. Thank you. Good
So,
morning.
Emmelie, what did you think of those people that were stopped on the streets of New York City and they're, you know, a lot of people call them elevator pitches, right?
Yeah.
Where, you know, maybe you're stuck in an elevator with your the boss of your dream job and you have 60 seconds and you have to just go. What did you think of those, and what makes a good elevator pitch or a good 60-second pitch?
Well, those were terrible. That is definitely what you should not do. You know, they didn't state their name, they didn't state what they do. So a good elevator pitch is always kind of accomplishment-based and result-based. You always want to say, you know, your name, what you do, what skill set you have, and really what you bring to the table, because you want to impress that person in those 60 seconds. So off those 60 seconds that we just saw there, we don't know what any of those people did. We don't know if they were artists, if they were, you know, designers. We don't know anything about them. That was a free advertisement on TV that we just missed. So it's
so you should really be
that.
thinking about these things before the opportunity just comes spontaneously.
Yeah, I guess so. But I mean, it's also really hard to be put on the spot, and that's something that really gets to people. It's not as easy as saying, you know, to sell yourself to me. That's not easy for the person who has to answer the question, because I certainly wouldn't find it easy. So what is branding and why is it so important?
Sure. So personal branding, it's really an experience, right? It's an experience that you give people when they interact with you, when they interact with you online or offline, right? It's your experiences, it's your skill set, it's your personality. It's just all of the things that make you unique and different from other people, right? And it's important when you are trying to build a brand that you keep all of these things in mind. You should really in your head already have the top 5 accomplishments, the top 5 skill sets that you have, so that you're able to ramble them off, because in 2015 you have to be comfortable with promoting yourself, and you have to be comfortable with owning your greatness. If not, somebody else will, and you'll get passed up for opportunities over and over again.
Right. Well, I think especially in this business, Shahan, I mean, in the news business, it seems like these days all the major networks are hiring people who have created a brand for themselves, whether or not they have, you know, millions of Twitter followers or whatever it may be. So if someone does want to brand themselves, like me and Shahan, maybe we want to do this. Maybe this is our goal for 2015. What 3 tips can you give us to get it going?
So definitely always think search engine, right? You always want to be able to be found online. So whether it's your Twitter bio or your LinkedIn bio, you always want to keep that full of keywords and search terms that people will look for. So if you're a journalist, what kind of news do you do? Are you written? Are you, you know, broadcasting? What kind of media do you do? You also want to employ like things like Twitter ads. So a lot of people think that Twitter ads are only for businesses, but you can actually have a Twesume, which is a Twitter resume, which allows you to advertise to people in your space. So for example, if you want to reach an audience similar to Black Enterprise, you can market to people that already follow Black Enterprise on Twitter. So it really gives you a leg up. Instead of being reactive, you want to be proactive and get in front of those people before they even, you know that you exist.
That's so smart.
You know, I sit there and I see those Twitter ads coming up, and I'm like, why would I waste my money trying to actually pay for an advert on Twitter? But I saw that you actually used that, and it obviously has worked.
Yes, and it's a great return on investment. I mean, a click costs a couple of cents, you know, so you can have a couple hundred new followers for like less than 25 bucks, you know, so by what you spend on a cup of coffee a day, you can be building your presence consistently.
So what are the key tips for social media and using it to market yourself?
So you always, always, always want to be authentic. So a lot of times people are like, I don't know what to say and I'm so boring and blah, blah, blah. But you really want to build an audience with your personality, right? So when I tweet, I don't only tweet about, you know, personal branding. I also tweet about what's going on in my life and work and things, so that people feel like they can relate to me. Like everyone knows that I'm obsessed with Beyonce.
Oh my word, we have something in common.
Exactly, you've met your match right here.
We're besties now, don't worry.
Exactly.
I don't need to know you.
When you walk into a room and they meet you from, they're like, oh, you love Beyonce, so you already kind of have something to connect about. So you always want to be personable and make people feel like they can, you know, get to know you online, and then bring that experience offline.
That's I think that's a great point. Well, so tell us about your company, Branding Muse, and I know that you started this while you were in college, which is amazing. We have so many young guests today, which are, I think they're making, well, I don't want to speak for Shahan, but at least for me, they're making me feel very unaccomplished.
You are accomplished, don't worry.
Of course.
So how did you decide to start this company while you were in college, and what's next for it?
Yeah, I was kind of forced in college to start the company. I was a public relations major, so I was getting clients in in the freelance space, and a lot of people are always like, how do you keep getting clients? Like, why do you keep getting job offers? Like, why do people come to you? Like, you're just sitting in your dorm, like, you know, fanning yourself and jobs aren't showing up. Like, what's going on? So I realized that what we learn in college isn't really what we need to be successful in the workplace.
True.
Yeah,
so what started off as a blog, just kind of sharing, you know, what I was learning out in the real world, really turned into a business where I help young professionals and even entrepreneurs make themselves more marketable in the space and be able to stand out when there are millions and millions of people, whether it's graduating every year or just switching jobs. So it really came out of a need for the information and identifying the void in the space.
Now, you know, when I was in my company in South Africa, we had a coach come in and he said to us, look at yourself as a company. So he said, you are Shahan Ramkissoon Incorporated. And, you know, that stuck with me for a long time. Would you advise people to look at it that way as well?
Absolutely. I even have in one of my workbooks, I tell people to break it down like you have a board of directors, right? And you have departments, like you have a marketing department, you have a finance department, you know, you have an HR department. Like you have to look at yourself as a company and what are your assets, right? What are you going to provide, whether it's an employer or whether it's your customer, that they can't get anywhere else. And it's really always that point that you have to think about what makes you different and how can you consistently remind people of that.
Out? Yeah. Well, I think, you know, maybe you should be teaching a course in college because this is more relevant information than, you know, fanning yourself, as you said, just sitting around learning academics.
Yeah, that's cool. Thanks so much for joining us here and for being in our studios this early. We loved talking to you. And if you want to find out more about Emmelie and the Branding Muse, you can go to her website, thebrandingmuse.com, or follow her on Twitter, like I will, definitely, and Facebook at The Branding Muse. Coming up, the actress Meredith Ann Bull recently visited the Arise 360 studios. She talked about her latest role in George Lucas' new animated film, Strange Magic. I had to say that way. Now that interview and much more still ahead on Arise and Shine.